Math 082 Practice Final Exam Review Problems 73, 74, and 75. We are going to factor the following polynomial by factoring out its greatest common factor. To determine the greatest common factor, we first look at the coefficients 8 and negative 12. What is the largest number that divides into both 8 and 12 without remainder? In other words, what is the largest common factor of 8 and 12? The answer is 4. Then we look at the powers of the variable, and the rule is the greatest common factor for powers of the variable is the least or lesser of the powers, in this case the fifth power. So z to the fifth is the greatest common factor for z to the fifth and z to the seventh. And what we have here, 4z to the fifth, is the greatest common factor. So we write 4z to the fifth times, and in the parentheses, we must determine what we should multiply 4z to the fifth by to make 8z to the fifth. And that answer is 2. Bring down the minus sign. Then we ask ourselves, what would we multiply 4z to the fifth by to make 12z to the seventh? Well, 4 times 3 is 12, and z to the fifth times z to the second, because in a multiplication problem with the same base you add exponents, and 5 plus 2 is 7. And this is our answer. Let's check. Problem 74. Let's factor out the greatest common factor. Start with the coefficients 6 and 9. Their largest common factor, the largest number that divides into both of them without remainder, that's 3. Now we look at the powers of x squared and x to the third power. The rule is for powers of the variable, the GCF is the lesser or least of the exponents, so that's x squared in this case. Y to the third and y, the GCF involves the power of y, the least or lesser, that's y to the first. So here we have the GCF. We have 3x squared y times, we ask ourselves, what would we multiply 3x squared y by to produce this first term? 3 times 2 is 6. X squared is already accounted for. Y would multiply with y squared, adding this implied exponent of 1 with this exponent of 2 to make third power. Now we ask, what do we multiply 3x squared y by to make 9 cubed y? Plus 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. X, because x squared times x, we add the exponents, and 1 plus 2 is 3. And we've already accounted for the y. We don't need the 1 exponent. Let's check. Problem 75. Let's factor out the greatest common factor. The coefficients are 28, positive 7, and negative 35. For the moment, trying to figure out the GCF, we don't have to worry about the minus sign. The greatest common factor of these numbers is 7. We have r to the fourth, r to the third, r to the fourth. The GCF involves the least or lesser of the powers, which is r to the third. S squared, s to the third. The least among those powers is s. So here we have our greatest common factor, 7r cubed s. What do we multiply this by to make this first term? We need 4, because 7 times 4 is 28. We need r to the first power, because r to the third times r to the first gives us r to the fourth. And we need s, because s times s is s squared. What do we multiply 7r cubed s by to make 7r cubed s? The answer is 1. Any number multiplied with 1 produces itself. That's what we are trying to accomplish here. What do we multiply 7r cubed s by to make negative 35r to the fourth s cubed? We need negative 5, so we write minus 5, because 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. We need r to the first, because r to the third times this implied r to the first. 3 plus the implied exponent of 1 gives us r to the fourth. And s times s squared gives us s to the third power. Let's check.